I did not read the synopsis for this book. And so I went in totally blind. And the way that the story is unfolding and the theme behind the story is absolutely beautiful. And I'm so glad that, like, I don't know what to expect in this book at all. And I'm just experiencing things as they come at me.
I've been waiting all night. Watch you blow a mile. Please don't come over, 'cause you're not sober. Yeah, now you know that ain't right. If your dude knew you was coming over, that would be a problem. Yeah. If our friends knew undercover love and they would try to solve it, yeah. Me and you.
Okay, so I have been reading for a couple of hours and I'm on page 80. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I almost forgot about this blog because the book is so good. Like, I think it's gonna be a 5 out of 5 for me. Is that crazy? I'm on page 80 out of 450 and like, I just know I'm gonna love this book. So first of all, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm not a big fan of when authors take a long time to build up their world. And when I first opened this, it starts off with a prologue before you get to chapter 1, and it describes the world. And it was really hard to follow, and there was so much going on. And I believe it was only like 10 or 12 pages, but at first I was like, oh God, it's in third person. I can't get past the world building at all. Halfway through, like, when I started to feel more connected to the book, it was almost like somebody was narrating the Big Bang. I kid you not. It was like watching a flower bloom or like watching a butterfly come out of like its cocoon. Like, that's literally how the world building started to feel once I like understood. So I will say that it was hard to follow the first few pages, and so I had to go back in and I had to put tabs in the book. But once I put the tabs down and I was able to keep track of what I was learning, it became this most beautiful thing. Then after watching this world flower bloom right before my eyes, we jump right into the book, which is a plus for me because, like I said, I do not like the beginning of a book to be just all about world building because it's really hard for me to follow and I get bored. So far, we've been following 3 characters. There's one woman named Asun, and from her point of view is really peculiar because it's the only point of view where you actually become her. So it's not so much as like a narrator kind of thing. Their pronouns are basically you, like you're doing this or you feel this or this has happened to you. So that's really interesting. And then for the other 2 perspectives, we have Cyanite and we have a little girl named Demaya. It doesn't say how old Demaya is, but starting with Asun, I really like her point of view, like I said, because it's really personal and it's like a first person perspective, if that makes any sense. So Asun is, and all of these girls are an origin, and I guess origins are super connected to the earth. And right now in this world that they live in, the earth is this angry force that causes these catastrophic seasons. So literally every few seasons in this world that they live in, called the stillness, the end of the world happens over and over again. I guess you can call it like a dystopian kind of book. So this book is apparently about the last time that the world is going to be destroyed. So they are origins. They're connected to the earth. They can cause the same catastrophic storms and events that Earth can itself and Earth does. So these origins are supposed to be considered a gift from the Earth, but because the Earth is so angry that keeps destroying their world over and over again, these gifts from the Earth are actually considered curses. They sometimes refer to the origins as rogas, which is supposed to be a derogatory term because it's supposed to degrade them. And Asun has been living in secret as an origin, and she's married and she has 2 kids. And her son recently displayed characteristics of an origin, and he did it in front of his father, and his son was 3 years old. His father immediately flipped out and beat him to death. And so Asun comes home, and her son is just His body's lying there. Her daughter's missing. Her husband's missing. Asun automatically knows that she has to get out of Dodge. She has no idea where her daughter is. She doesn't even know if her daughter's alive. If the husband found out about the daughter as well. So she has to go find them. And then she's worried about the town that she lives in, because what if they put it together that this boy, who is Roga, got his powers or abilities from a parent, but when they start to put it together that this boy got his abilities from a parent, they're gonna figure out that it was her, and they're likely to kill her. And I'm guessing Demaya is like in her preteen, and she has an event at school where a boy pushes her down, and she causes like a catastrophic event herself, or she displays as something threatening, but everyone figured out that she was an origin. And her parents immediately lock her into this barn, and she goes from being like this loved child to being treated as an origin, as a Roga. And so they automatically lose love and respect for her. And I think they're really afraid of her because they are capable of, like I said, being as forceful of a nature as Earth, and Earth keeps erupting. Demaya, this strange man comes to them, and he's supposed to be a guardian of her, and these guardians kind of guide them and teach them how to use their powers. And so her parents just basically give her away to this guardian and send her off. Like I said, she's a younger girl, and it's just really sad to see. Like, both of those stories were heartbreaking. So Sarah Knight is I guess you could say she's like an imperial origin, and she lives in this community where they have this stature and they're less likely to be killed, but they have to be poised and respectable at all times, and basically put up this facade to society that there's no reason to fear them. They're trying to be as less intimidating as possible. And so that is where I left off. I'm going to read a little bit more and check back in with you guys, but so far I am absolutely floored with this. Okay, so as far as Demaya goes, when her guardian came to get her, she was actually really hopeful because he was the only one that showed even a small amount of kindness towards her. And she began to think that maybe this is the only man left that knows what she is and still has some type of compassion for her. So she knows that she has no choice but to go with him, but she feels comfortable and maybe that she can even trust him a little bit. And in one of the chapters, there's an incident that happens where he basically inflicts pain upon her. And it was so gut-wrenching and uncomfortable to read because I could feel the hope and belief and aspiration draining from her as this incident was occurring. And I felt really bad for her because this was the last person in her life that, and I mean a total stranger, but this is the last person in her life who she felt like still had some type of remote amount of caring for her. And it just all got sucked out. It's also here to instill a certain amount of fear and discipline in her and to make sure that she's not harmful to society. And so she has no choice but to be docile. And I don't know, I just feel like that part was really sad. I do like the way that it was written. It was written beautifully. I feel like I was literally there in the scene with them. Okay, so it is the next day, and I read almost about, I want to say like 48%, almost 50% of the book yesterday. I was short by like 25 pages, and there are so many uncomfortable parallels to the real world as far as systematic oppression and abuse, and I mean, just so many things. And I want to put this out there as like a trigger warning for anyone who's uncomfortable with things like that. It was written into the book so natural. And I think that abuse and manipulation and unfairness when it comes down to treating or how they get treated is so much a part of their world that nobody flinches. Nobody pays attention to it. Nobody bats an eye to it because it's so expected because it happens so often. So as someone who's reading this, it hits you even harder because these situations in parallel to our world still make us feel really sad and heartbroken, and we still demand justice for these things because it's absolutely not fair how they get treated. But they're at this point in their world where there's no point. These people in this world, the Steels, who basically have no powers at all, they don't see the origins as people at all. So here's an entire race and they're not even human. They don't see them as anything even remotely humane. And so, yeah, there's just so much happening in the book. And I'm so into this book. And I did not order book 2 or book 3, so I don't have them in my possession. But, like, that needs to change ASAP because I think I'm going to binge N.K. Jemisin. I'm just going to read all 3 of her books from the Broken Earth trilogy. And then I'm going to go right into The City We Became because I am so encaptured with her writing right now. So I have been tabbing all through this book. There's so many great aspects and parallels and uncomfortable truths that I don't want to miss anything in the book, and I don't want it to pass or go over my head. There's a lot of figurative language in the book. Abuse that she speaks to, and the outright like assaults that happen in this book, she doesn't say it outright. So you kind of just have to fill in the pieces and fill in the blanks, you know, just figure out what happened yourself. And so a lot of the times I'm reading it and I'm going and I'm reading and then I'm like, wait, did she just say what I think she just said? And then I have to go back and I'm like, she definitely, was this little boy or like, was this little girl seriously? And yes, besides all the uncomfortable things in the book, I have to say that like I really am enjoying it. And yeah, I'm gonna probably finish the book and come back and share my ending thoughts because 1, I don't want this video to be too long, and 2, I don't want to give away too many spoilers because I really want my subscribers to check out this book. I can say so far that this book is going to be up there in my top 2020 reads.
What we do, it stays between me and you, me and you. What we do, it stays between me and you.
I am back. I am officially done with the 5th season. And let me tell you, it was an absolute ride. I am so distraught. My emotions are absolutely everywhere, especially regarding the way that she ended this book. I don't think I've ever seen a book kind of come to a whole and come to an end the way that I did in this book. And it's so crazy because I feel like the journey that we were on in this book, she brought it all full circle and like gave us a complete like 360 and tied it all in together. But we still have so many other questions and so many other situations that still need to be addressed. And I feel like this book is like, this is the first book out of 3. And I feel like this book is just a particular journey, and like we had to go this route and we had to see this to really understand where she wants us to go in book 2 and book 3. So I'm expecting this to kind of be like a prelude. I'm expecting this one to just be a journey that we had to take to get to where we were going, and just to give us some context clues. Like I said, my thoughts are absolutely everywhere with this book, so I'm gonna try to wrap it up for you the best that I can, and hopefully I don't sound too crazy. One of the few things I wanted to mention is that I didn't see much religious representation in the book, and we saw everyone. We saw people of color, we saw trans representation, we saw a polyamorous couple in here. There's pretty much, I love the way that she writes about sexuality because it is absolutely so fluid. They're at this point in their world that no one cares. I'll be honest with you, no one cares. You find happiness wherever you can. You find relief and satisfaction wherever you can, because they live in this world where the world keeps ending over and over again when the 5th season comes around. So nobody cares who's sleeping with who. And I have to sit and like wonder, because Father Earth in this book is upset. They've done something to upset the earth. And so it keeps trying to like thrust, I guess, this anger out upon them, maybe hoping one day they'll leave. There's a lot of theories as to why Father Earth is upset. If you need help understanding that or correlating it, just think of like in our world how people say that we pollute, we trash the earth, we treat it badly, and Mother Nature's upset. So we have all these different rainforest fires that can't be put out. We have constant tornadoes and hurricanes in our world because we've upset the balance of Mother Nature. Correlate that into the 5th season, except it's going to be Father Earth instead of Mother Nature. It's just this huge entity. So Father Earth is not, from what I gather, a person. It's just an entity, the way that we think of Mother Nature as. Something else that I wanted to put in my last finishing thoughts is that procreation in this book is really out of a necessity. They handle it like a duty because their numbers have dwindled down, and so societies are a lot smaller than they used to, and they have comms, and it seems as though each comm, which is like a community, the comms do what they can to look out for their members. And so there's not a lot of interconnections between one comm to another. If they're close enough, I'm pretty sure they would know each other, but think of it as like each having an individual small town or a small village of people, but they're not connected. There's not like one big state or one big country. There is kind of like a government situation, but like I said, it's kind of hard to really put roots down and keep track of all these things because people go wherever they can to survive, and a lot of times during the seasons they end up dying off. So that's another thing that I wanted to point out. The characters in this book can pick up a new life and a new identity so easy within different comms. They just kind of move around like nomads, and when they join a different comm, they become a completely different person, and there's really no system to keep track of this or to keep accountability for these things. And that's understandable because, like I said, they're at this point where it's pretty much survival of the fittest, and you group together with those who you can. But the comms don't just take in anybody. When a season's coming about, the comms keep the people who will be useful. And even if you're just a breeder, like I said, they look at procreation as like a duty. So sometimes they assign people to literally just be breeders. But if you're not contributing to their society in any way and you're just gonna possibly be one of the first ones to die, typically kick you out. So I do want to say all in all that this was one of the most dense, intricate, complex, compelling stories I've read in a long time. She took so much thought and time into her world building. It was absolutely incredible. I will say that, like, if you're not into real dense adult fantasy, you may not like this book because you will be lost a lot of the time. She doesn't feel the rush to answer all your questions. So halfway through the book, you have all these questions in your head, but the story's still unfolding. I did mention that you have to fill in a lot of the spaces and a lot of the gaps. And so there was some parts where the characters came to like a realization and they figured stuff out, but I was like, I have no idea what just happened. So one of those people that doesn't like being left in the dark, you may not like that aspect of this book. Lastly, what I wanted to talk about is the origins themselves correlate so much to different people of color in the world today because they are not supposed to ever come across as intimidating or ever come across as dangerous. So even though they're these powerful beings, they're not considered humans. And so they have to be docile and dwindle themselves down because the second that humans perceive them as a threat, their life is over. And then typically when people meet them, they want to kill them anyway, but they'll kill you twice as fast if they're slightly intimidated by you. So they get treated so unjustly and so unfairly, and they are never allowed to be angry. They're never allowed to want revenge or want justification or want to live in a world where they are treated fairly. Like, that's just not something that they're allowed to do. And especially with everything that's going on in the world today, I feel like that directly correlates to me being a Black person. It feels like the second that we speak out about injustice, we're crying or we're overreacting, or how dare we speak out against such big political powers and political houses. It's like we can never be upset about the things that happen to us, and people see Black people as a threat to the point where they end up killing us, and it's like we can never be mad about it because the second that we become mad, we become a danger, and then it happens all over again where we're dying in the streets for no reason. And so I really connected with that aspect of the book. A quote that one of the characters said, which is basically, what we are is a gift if we let it make us better, or it'll be a curse if we let it destroy us. But it's our choice to be a blessing or a curse. basically. And I just love that. I am super sad because I only bought book number 1 and I did not order book number 2 and 3. So I'm going to order that as soon as I can, ASAP. If you're gonna read this, definitely look at a sample online or try to read like a sample chapter online, because like I said, it is a dense book and it's not gonna be for everybody, because it's such a heavy read and it's so emotional and compelling, and it's a ride, and some people just want something that's light and fun and hearty. This is the polar opposite from that book. Like, I had to keep a lot of tabs just to like keep up with the book, and honestly I was running out of tabs, so I laid off on them because if I had more tabs it would be a lot more in this book. Look online to see if it's something that you want to, and then if you decide to go ahead and read it, don't do what I did. Definitely order book 1 and 2 at the same time, because you're gonna want to go right into the next one. That is all that I have. I don't know if I'm going to do a vlog for Poppy War. We'll see how it feels, but I had so many people comment saying that they wanted to read the 5th season and didn't really know anything about it. And I wanted to put enough information out there without giving away too much. The cliffhanger at the end of the book will blow your mind. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.